So before we go into the live demo, I'm going to show you our public safety router portfolio so that you can understand some models and products that are going to fit really nicely into different public safety scenarios. So you can see there's a lot of options to pick from, and that's really what we're hoping for here, is that we're going to have a model that's going to fit the needs of almost any scenario your public safety users can throw at you. So at the top, we've got single cellular routers with just one LTE connection in them. In the middle, we've got the two cellular modems models with two cellular radios inside of each of them. And then at the bottom, we've got 3 and 4 radio models for even higher end applications where lots of connectivity and lots of bandwidth is required. So starting at the top, we've got our 399 Transit Mini. This is an awesome upgrade from a hotspot device. So if your public safety users are used to using maybe a USB modem or some sort of consumer Wi-Fi hotspot device, this 399 Transit Mini is an excellent upgrade. It's got ignition sense and nice vehicle-friendly power input, so it's going to attach to the car and get mounted permanently, and so it's always going to be ready to go and always in a ready state when your users are ready to go and go on their mission. We've also, on the second tier, that dual modem product, the first one there, that Transit Duo, that's an exceptional price point in the market for a 2 radio product. That's $9.99, and it's got 2 Category 12 radios in there. So you can connect one to FirstNet and the other one to Verizon, and you can get all the benefits of both of those networks in one affordable box. Oftentimes that router is cheaper than a lot of competitors' single radio models even. So it's a tremendous value with two connections in that one box. On the dual radio side, you can also see there's a couple outdoor models. Those are excellent for remote outpost locations that don't have very high quality wireline connectivity, or maybe the building material is just really challenging for getting signal. But those can also be used for mobile applications like mobile command or higher value assets that need a little better connectivity than maybe a traditional smaller vehicle. And then again, the last tier there is our multi-modem, the 3 and 4 modem configurations. These are really designed for mobile command centers and other applications that require really high bandwidth or really stable connectivity. So you can see we've got a full stack of different models to fit into different needs and different price points for public safety users. So we feel really strongly that we've got a great lineup to, again, let you fit into whatever project your users might have. So how do you achieve unbreakable connectivity? We talked about that at the beginning. Unbreakable connectivity anytime, anywhere. Well, what does that mean? Our unbreakable connectivity is what we describe as the user's experience when they start using these multiple connections. There's other companies that make dual LTE routers, right? A lot of you have seen those products, but there's a big difference between a dual radio product and a dual radio product with SpeedFusion. With the traditional dual radio product, you can connect users to multiple networks, but what happens is all of their traffic gets sent to one radio or the other radio, and that traffic is going to live and die on that radio. So if you have a user that starts up a VPN session from their laptop, the router is going to send that either out radio 1 or radio 2. And again, whichever radio the router picks, if you move into an area where that carrier's coverage isn't good, that VPN is going to time out, it's going to have interruptions, and eventually that VPN session is going to break. Now the router is going to automatically let it reestablish to the other healthy radio, but again, that user experience is not unbreakable connectivity. The user got interrupted, and who knows what they might have been doing, right? Connectivity interruption for a public safety user can be literally a life and death situation. So doing that automatic failover is helpful, but it really doesn't solve the user's problem. It really doesn't deliver on what their expectations of a dual radio product should be doing for them. And so that's where Peplink's patented SpeedFusion technology comes into play. What SpeedFusion lets us do is it lets us shift traffic at the packet level. So if a user's VPN is mostly using Verizon, but suddenly there's a coverage issue there, we can shift that VPN session, again, at the packet level over to the other FirstNet connection so that that user doesn't experience a drop in their connection. They don't have to reestablish their VPN. They don't even know that they switched from Verizon to FirstNet. We can completely hide that from them so that their experience is really truly that unbreakable one. So this lets you combine the coverage of multiple networks, and when you've got two networks in play at the same time, it lets you combine the bandwidth of those two networks, even for a single session like a user VPN. So SpeedFusion technology has a few different modes that lets us use this packet level technology to achieve different outcomes and protect traffic in different ways. So at the bottom, we've got hot failover. Again, that's that seamless handoff from one carrier to another. You're not necessarily actively using both at one time, but you can fail over in less than 1 second from one carrier to another. WAN smoothing is another SpeedFusion strategy that helps you protect real-time traffic. So you can protect live video, live audio, voice over IP, radio over IP. There's multiple modes and technologies within WAN smoothing that lets you enhance that real-time traffic on single and multi-WAN links. And last is bandwidth bonding. People want more throughput in the field so they can get high quality video uploaded. They can get all kinds of files and data sent from the field out elsewhere for other parties to digest and process when there's a situation. And so SpeedFusion's bandwidth bonding lets you share those connections, even again for a single application. So your user's VPN could, for example, utilize both connections at the same time instead of just failing over from one to the other. So there's lots of flexibility, and you can create application level policies that let you apply these different modes to different types of traffic so that you're doing WAN smoothing on video, but for like email or file uploads, maybe you're doing bandwidth bonding. So you've got the flexibility to carve out those policies and appropriately protect each type of traffic that your users are doing. So a couple examples of how you could use this would be live streaming video from a vehicle. So again, SpeedFusion can bond multiple cellular links so that even a single video transfer can use the bandwidth of multiple links. And we've got our WAN smoothing technology that lets you smooth out that video so that you can reduce your average latency, you can reduce packet loss, you can smooth out the jitter across multiple connections so that you can always dynamically use the fastest, most responsive link for that video stream. So oftentimes, right now, DVRs in vehicles are kind of a captive box, right? There's not a lot of live activity or a live viewing being done with those. It's recording whatever's happening in the field, and then when those vehicles drive into their depot or headquarters, then there's either a hard drive swap or some sort of Wi-Fi upload that happens. But again, oftentimes those DVRs in the vehicles aren't really a real-time live tool. But again, with SpeedFusion, you can upgrade that. So you can add that SpeedFusion connectivity so you could actually see live. So you could let a dispatcher watch real-time, not waiting for 5G. You can do that on 4G networks today using SpeedFusion. Another great example of what you can do with SpeedFusion is extend two-way radios over IP, so you can get users on your radio system anywhere they go, and you can backhaul them using, again, LTE networks instead of traditional RF networks that two-way radios are typically limited to. So there's a lot of vendors out there that have kind of IP to two-way radio interfaces, and so you can plug those into a SpeedFusion enabled router so that you can go into all kinds of unique places that your land mobile radio networks might not reach. So I know a couple of years ago we had some users out in the East Coast in the Blue Ridge Mountains that they had just very mountainous terrain, right? And so the two-way radio networks, the LMR networks, just had a hard time covering all the nooks and crannies that the mountains and valleys would create. And so what they did is they utilized an LTE carrier and a satellite carrier to do a hot failover configuration. And then they plugged that into a radio to IP device from their LMR vendor so that they could have smooth, seamless handoff between the terrestrial LTE network and then fall back to that line of sight satellite network. So they were really pleased with the ability to blend those two different technologies in a seamless way that really allowed them to operate much more efficiently and much more reliably out in the field than they could with traditional two-way LMR or even augmenting that with LTE. So again, it's that SpeedFusion packet level SD-WAN technology that lets you blend these different networks together in a seamless and productive way.